Yeah, you need
We have
to
no
have,
idea, right?
You need to have a barrage of difficult, troublesome cases where you questioned everything you did. You still don't know if it was the right thing to do. You still doubted your abilities. You very much hit that trough before you should be training anybody. The trough of, they should call it the trough of humility.
Ooh, that's
Yeah. That's really, because
Dr.
really what it is,
Dirks' title.
that's when you realize, wow, this in real life, I don't know what I'm talking about. And
Engine 23 and Medic 23, Larpenteur Avenue West and Fry Street. Police on scene. Shooting. Stand by for police. Box 546. On fire ops 4. Time 21:07.
Hey everyone, welcome to EMS Connect On Shift, your go-to podcast for everything EMS. Sometimes we're going to educate, sometimes we're going to review EMS articles or books, sometimes we just hang out with badass people and BS, but I'll tell you what, every time we're going to have an absolute blast. I am your host, Sean Pitts. I'm the head of education for EMS Connect. We are a top-tier EMS education organization that offers more education than you'll ever need. We have a website with hundreds of hours of education. We got online EMS refresher courses, and we even offer on-site courses. Before we jump into this episode, please take a moment to go to whatever app you're listening to this on right now and subscribe to our show, give feedback, and give our show a rating. Every rating you give truly elevates this podcast and makes it easier for others to find us. Please help us spread the word about EMS Connect and the On Shift podcast so everyone can get educated. Today's topic, dealing with overly confident people.
ignorant.
Also known
asses.
as ignorant, also known as arrogant.
Yeah.
Spelling a little bit different. Whether it's a field training officer, as an educator, or just as a general person, right? You get these people who come out of some sort of initial education.
Let's be honest. It's every human being. Right?
100%.
A brand new nurse, a brand new med student, a brand new EMT, a brand new college student. Right?
All of them.
Look at college.
Everybody.
Look at college campuses right now. Boy, they
Look
got
at
a
high
lot
school
of smart
students.
people, right?
High school students, they know everything.
Yeah.
So you get a little bit of knowledge, and then you automatically assume that you know everything.
It's like a boost of confidence because you now have knowledge. You feel like, wow, I'm way more knowledgeable and I'm more skilled immediately. And it's like you watch a YouTube video
Right.
on how to do something. Immediately you feel like, wow,
I'm a genius.
Why? Who needs to hire a professional to do this? I totally can do this. And a lot of
Try it
things
with
you
plumbing.
can. Yeah. There
Right?
you go.
Yeah.
So
Plumbing's
immediately you think you're way more skilled than you are.
Right. So it has a title, which I had no idea. You introduced this to me. I had no idea this was a thing.
Yeah.
So it has a title. It has it has a study. It has science, allegedly, all that stuff behind
Oh,
it.
no, this is real science. There's
I know,
two
it's so great.
psychologists.
Well, there you go. See, they're naturally intelligent.
Yeah. And they did this whole research thing on people's perception of their skill and their confidence after a certain amount of training and education. And what they found was amazing.
Okay. So I think I found the study. It could be right here.
Yeah, it should be. The names were David Dunning and Justin Kruger.
Oh, is that why it's called the Dunning-Kruger Effect?
Bingo.
Well, weird. I don't know if this is exactly it, right?
Yep.
But so this is basically, we're talking about the fact that people's own ignorance is oblivious to them.
Yeah. So in the original study, what they found was they were scoring people, basically giving people surveys like score yourself on this. And what they found was on testing of logical reasoning, grammar, sense of humor, people had the most inflated opinion of their skills. So on average, these folks believed they did better than 62% of everybody else.
Okay.
And in reality, they outperformed 12%.
Wow.
So
a lot of arrogance, but nothing to back it up.
Yes. And so the less intelligent we are in a particular domain, the more we seem to overestimate our actual intelligence in that domain, is what they found out. So the most dangerous you ever are is when you first start learning about stuff.
Weird.
Yeah. Your skill and opinions of yourself are overly inflated to multitude degrees.
Right. Okay. So we'll put a link to this chart in the show notes so people can follow along with this. Right.
Yep.
But for those that are too lazy, too arrogant to go look at this, right? Describe this to me because we have a normal graph.
Yeah. So this is where this
draw
is
it on your mirror or whatever thing you're currently
and I want
looking
people to basically Google this. And I want to be very open and honest about this. I was definitely on the first peak, Mount Stupid. Early in my career, I think a lot of us are. When you're young and you're excited and you're going to EMT school, med school, nursing school, and you start getting all this education that you've never had before, and you're passionate about it. It's not like high school English class where you could probably care less,
right?
Unless you're into English. But you start taking courses and things you are passionate about. Maybe it's going to be your career, and you get so empowered by it that just like me and like a lot of people, my first year in med school, my second, third, fourth, even into my fourth, as a medical student, I was like, I know a lot of shit. Like, whoa, I know way more than my parents ever knew.
Arrogant person.
Oh man, I'm terribly arrogant. Okay. Like back in the day, I was way on Mount Stupid. I mean, at the top, I thought I was hot shit. And then hopefully, I mean, maybe things are changing, but when I went into residency, after medical school, you do 3 to 5 to 7 years of residency, depending on if you want to be a surgeon, ER doctor, whatever. In residency, that first year, oh my God, did I plummet to the depths of the big trough there. I mean, I felt like I didn't know anything. I was scared out of my mind. So I was the Dunning-Kruger effect.
So is that the difference between textbook and real life,
yes.
Right? People are like, there's textbook medicine and then there's street medicine.
Yes.
So we're talking about Mount Stupid is the textbook medicine.
It's that first,
and then the trough is street medicine.
It's that first exposure to you're learning new stuff. You're learning new skills. You're practicing on fake patients. You're practicing the skills in the
IVs
fire
are
station.
so easy when you're doing IVs on your healthy 20-year-old fit coworkers.
Yeah. And so where we see this now is you take like fire academy or EMS type stuff training. And that first year, they're passionate, they're strong-willed, they're young, they're energetic, they got lots of power.
They've learned everything.
Yeah. And
they're so knowledgeable.
And, they see, like I did as a med student, you see your older colleagues who have been doing this for 20, 30 years. And you're like, oh my God, they're like old school. They don't know what they're doing anymore. I know the new stuff. I could do this better than them. And that's where you're dangerous because you develop this overconfidence. Well, like, do you know the first rule of the Dunning-Kruger Club?
Don't talk about the Dunning-Kruger Club?
No, the first rule of Dunning-Kruger is you don't know you're in Dunning-Kruger.
Oh, it's kind of similar. Don't talk about
That's the scary thing.
Yeah.
You don't even know you're there because you're so ignorant of your lack of knowledge and skills or the application of them in real life that you are really dangerous. And so that first peak, Mount Stupid, the interesting thing about it is if you see like when you Google this and the graph you're showing now on your screen, which you should link this to the podcast notes, right? So that first peak, when you're the most ignorant, you feel like the most educated and skilled. Your confidence level in your skills and knowledge is so utterly high that even after the plummet, hopefully you hit the plummet, hopefully you hit rock bottom, realize how stupid you are, and you get some humility, that later in the graph, as you go way to the right in your actual knowledge and skill base, the further out you get years into your career, your confidence level never reaches the same height as that initial peak of Mount Stupid.
That's what I love about this, right? Is I feel like you're chasing that, but would you say it's unobtainable?
It's not unobtainable. It's that humility keeps you grounded.
I love
like
it.
Even now, I'm almost 20 years into my career. And while, yes, I think I have confidence in what I can do, my confidence level is high. I also know very fully that I don't know everything. That there may be a patient who comes in soon where I need to call for help. I need the trauma surgeon or the hand surgeon.
Know your role.
I know my role. And I also know that there's a lot of things I probably still don't know, or maybe skills that I've lost over time. And so I'm humble enough now to acknowledge to everybody I'm with, nursing staff, med students, consultants of like, hey, I'm not quite sure how to take care of this one. I'm going to need your help. That's a big difference from that second year resident who in no way wants to let anybody think that they are stupid and don't know what they're doing. So that's where
no one wants to look stupid.
Bingo.
It's terrifying.
And that's why you get Mount Stupid, because people are not humble. They're afraid to look dumb and they want to be smart. So they study a bunch, they learn a bunch, and they read a bunch of stuff in the book and they feel like I can take care of anything. No, you can't. You know some good knowledge, that now you need to learn how to apply it. And that learning how to apply it takes years.
Would you say the big difference? I said this, I don't know where I heard it, but the difference between confidence and arrogance is humility.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's a fine line.
Yeah.
Right? Because I mean, let's get real. EMS and I think medicine in general tends to be an arrogance-driven profession.
Well,
right?
it takes a level of confidence to deal with another human being.
Because again, that level, that line between arrogance and confidence is, you almost can't see it.
Well, I mean, you take like a veterinarian. Okay, not to bash veterinarians, but like taking care of an animal takes a lot of heart, a lot of passion, but it also takes a lot less gumption than to take care of somebody's loved one.
I could see that.
I mean, to be able to deal with humans and to help fix humans, you got to have, you got to have some confidence behind you. So that it kind of, this world of EMS and medical stuff, it almost precludes you to be prone to being on Mount Stupid. It's like it pushes you to be the Dunning-Kruger effect because you to start this career, you got to have a certain level of internal confidence of like, other people can't do this. I can do this. I can respond lights and sirens to scene with bodies everywhere, and I can handle my shit and keep my shit together. And I'm like, I'm going to show up and be a pro. So it takes a certain level of confidence to even start in this career. And so you're just a good setup for it. So I can absolutely, I'm not surprised at all when you see Fire Academy, EMS Academy, people come out and they're, months into it and they're just like cocky, arrogant little shits who are like, think they know more than you. It goes with the turf. And so we should expect it, but we also need to know how to deal with it.
All right. So confidence on the left-hand side of the graph, knowledge across the bottom.
Yep.
Right. The line starts at the same 0, 0 like it always does, except for, man, with just a little bit of knowledge comes this huge Mount Stupid peak of confidence.
Yep.
Right. So, but the problem with that is at the top, like you are completely ignorant to everything. You don't know what you don't know.
That's it right there.
Right.
You're not aware of what you don't know. That's the danger.
And I love this is about being ignorant of one's own ignorance.
Yeah.
Like you have no idea what you don't know because in your brain, you know everything.
Right. I mean, the first rule of Dunning-Kruger is you don't know you're in Dunning-Kruger.
Right.
Of that club.
What's the second rule of Dunning-Kruger?
Don't talk about it.
Don't talk about it. Okay. So you have that peak. Right. And then I love this as we travel down the bottom side of this on the knowledge, that peak eventually is going to fall. And this is that giant trough that you're talking about. Right.
It's the trough of, they should call it the trough of humility.
Ooh, that's.
Yeah. That's really, because really what it is, title. That's when you realize, wow, this in real life, I don't know what I'm talking about. And really where I see this now is you see college students, right? Protesting for various things. And I'm sorry, when I was in college, I'm 19, 20 years old. For me to protest about anything financial, family related, who was I to speak? I have never held a job, started a business, had a child, been married. Like, who am I to tell other people what they should be doing when I have no concept whatsoever of what it's like to worry about saving for your kids' college, saving in a 401k, worrying about who the next president is, worrying about all this stuff, family safety, my future, being able to take care of myself and not having society take care of me. And yet college kids are out protesting about all this adult stuff where they have zero experience. And so that's where I think in real life, you can turn on the TV every day and see the Dunning-Kruger. It's everywhere.
When I think in everyone's job, even we're not outside of medicine, everyone's job.
Everywhere.
This is they have a bachelor's degree in accounting. They know everything about accounting, correct. Right? Like, but so I think that's what I want to do this topic is it's not just related to EMS and medical professionals.
This is human behavior 101. Anybody going through any education, school.
So can you avoid it then? Do you think there's any avoidance of Dunning-Kruger?
I don't think so. I think this is human nature. So where I think where I think the positivity is here is knowing it exists. So if you would have showed me this and gave me this education before I started med school, I would have been a much better medical student and frankly, a much better doctor early in my career.
Why?
I would have had humility. I'd have been more open about what I'm not good at. I would have been more accepting of people's suggestions. I would have not had this wall of defense if I felt like, oh, the nursing staff is questioning what I'm doing. Screw that. I got to be strong. I got to show them I'm a doctor, like all this bullshit. And so I think knowing this young, man, if you're just starting your EMS career or Fire Academy, holy crap, please take this in and process it and evaluate it. And if you If you're sitting down listening to this right now, being like, these guys don't know what they're talking about. Like, I just got all this education.
You have a flag on Mount Stupid.
You should be president of Dunning-Kruger Club.
Yeah.
Like, because if you're not aware of what you don't know and ignorance, and you think you're hot stuff, you're the president of this club.
Okay. So how do you deal with people you have gone up Mount Stupid, you have traveled through the trough of humility, and now you are far. I mean,
I'm like still climbing that hill on the right. I mean,
you're not quite an expert yet. I would call you an expert.
But I think that's the point of it. That's the point of it.
This graph never ends.
The point of it is that if you were to take the highest skilled experts in the field, I bet if Einstein was still alive and you told him, rank yourself on this graph, he would not put himself at the top level of expert. He would still say he's working towards it.
For sure.
That's the whole point, is like knowing what you don't know. And the reality is you will never know everything.
Right.
Even if you're an expert in your field, it just means, well, you know more than the majority of your peers. It doesn't mean you know everything.
Right.
It means you still need help sometimes. I mean, like even Einstein had assistants in his lab and all this stuff. Like all these brilliant experts have assistants to help them process data because it's just too much to know. You can never know everything.
So for someone we've gone through the trough of humility, we're somewhere between that trough of humility and expert, which we'll continuously be on. Mm-hmm. How do we handle, or how do we approach or educate or mentor, or however you want to look at that, when you look behind you and see that person who's standing on Mount Stupid, who is the brand new firefighter, brand new EMT, brand new paramedic, brand new whatever, coming out of whatever course.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
I think the first thing is not feeling like you have to rise above it and be this kind of bash them down to the trough of humility.
Because we hear knock them down a peg or two.
Yeah, which I think that's a dangerous approach. I think getting to the trough of humility is a pathway people need to take on their own. I think helping them, point them in the right direction. And right now, if I was training somebody and I felt like, ooh, they're a little overconfident and they're a bit dangerous and maybe they're a bit arrogant, honestly, I would just show them this stuff. I would show them this graph, and I would teach them about this effect that's well known by psychologists. It's well proven through any field. And I would just say, you just need to be aware that this exists. And as your supervisor, as your mentor, and I would try to do this very calmly and politely as a collegial friend. I would say, I strongly think you are here on this graph, and you need to just go home and process this. You might think I'm stupid, and that would prove my point.
Right.
Because I've been doing this a very long time, and I understand that I don't know everything. And for you to come in and kind of be questioning everybody here, educating you and calling this old school, and, being really arrogant about it, that's not going to serve you well. I like your confidence. I like it that you're willing to take the next step, to be confident, to put yourself out there. That can help you. It can also hurt you. And I would just point this out to them, and I would let them process this data, let them come to their own conclusions, let them slide down the hill into the trough of humility. I really like that, by the way.
That's good. Dude, that you coined it. It's yours. Trough of humility.
But I don't think you can push people to get there, because if you were then to feel like you're going to knock them down a peg, they're probably just going to put their feet dig their heels in even more. And they're going to really stand on that mountain peak and really claim it and put down the flag and say, this is my mountain. So I'm not so sure if.
Sorry to jump in and interrupt, but all successful podcasts have advertisements. This podcast wouldn't exist without EMS Connect, an online, self-paced CE platform for all levels of EMS providers and firefighters. Our site houses over 140 hours of nationally accredited content for all levels of EMS. Access to our site is only $7.50 a month. There are no join fees, cancellation fees, and definitely no bullshit. We also host monthly live sessions where you have the option to interact with our talented and engaging instructors. Just for listening, you will be automatically entered to win a $50 Amazon gift card, which will be drawn at the conclusion of each of our live sessions. All of our courses we offer can be easily imported to your NREMT profile with a few simple clicks. This greatly simplifies your recertification process. All of this can be yours for only $7.50 per month. In this economy, we're spending more than that on our daily coffees. But wait, there's more. Our site also offers EMT, advanced EMT, and paramedic level NREMT refresher courses that are 100% online and self-paced. For all of your training officers out there, we make your job super easy with our administrative tools such as uploading agency courses, skills tracking, participation reports, and so much more. To get a no-catch peek at the administrative tools and capabilities of EMS Connect, contact us at info@emsconnect.org. Again, info@emsconnect.org. All right, enough of the advertisements. Let's get back to this great episode.
Being aggressive and knocking them down a peg is probably the most appropriate way to do it. I mean, maybe some do, but honestly, sometimes if you have that personality who is difficult, who is just like, they do need to be knocked down, what I would do is passively do it. And I'd put them in charge of the next patient encounter and the next patient encounter and the next patient encounter, and put them in front of some difficult stuff and make them feel like they don't know what they're doing, and let them hopefully feel it out for themselves while keeping the patient somewhat safe.
So do you think there's power in that, or do you think there's ability in that in the education realm? Right? Because I think you can encounter someone on Mount Stupid partway through an academy or partway through an EMT program, especially as we start advancing our medical careers, right? Partway through a paramedic program, you as an instructor might encounter a student who's already traveled up Mount Stupid and is standing there. So do you think that's the solution, is putting them in these challenging patient scenarios that is designed to like make them a little bit more on the humble side?
Yeah, I would do kind of a two-pronged approach. I would do an EMT class or any kind of training, and I'd start like normal. And the second I feel or interpret that some of the class members are getting a little arrogant and cocky, my next class would be on this. I'd do like a 15, 30-minute session on Dunning-Kruger, call it out. I'd be like, some of you are there. Some of you are climbing right up Mount Stupid right now. I'm seeing it. I wouldn't call them out. I wouldn't embarrass them in class. That's what you don't want to do. And I would absolutely call it to class and say, some of you are well on top of this mountain, or getting there real quick. Be very careful. You're learning a lot. This is great. I'm proud of you. But be careful, because you are not going to know what you don't know.
I love it.
And then after the class, like when you're into your clinicals or doing ride-alongs, if you still feel like there's a couple who are way up on that mountain, overconfident, I would put them in front of some very difficult patient scenarios, because they're going to knock themselves down at that point. I mean, case in point, this is a good example. I'm a medical advisor for some agencies.
You are?
Yeah.
Weird.
And I was doing a ride-along last year, and we had a transport agency arrive, and the transport agency had a student medic with them.
Okay.
I forgot if it's student EMTB or medic. I think it was a medic. And when I do ride-alongs, I am in absolutely street clothes. Nothing about me says advisor, doctor. I look like just some moron civilian who's there for like, oh, I want to ride in an ambulance for the day.
I can't wait to be a firefighter.
And during the patient encounter, I stand way back. I can hear everything. I can see what they're doing. I can see the exam. I just want to see how they're doing. I don't want to be intimidating. I just want to stand back and see how my crew is doing. So this fresh young student arrives, obviously passionate, excited, really energetic. And I stand back. I'm like, this is great. I'm going to watch somebody else's student do this. And it's not my employee. And the patient was an elderly male at the airport checking in early in the morning. He and his wife have both said, well, I've been sick with like cough and cold, runny nose stuff for days. I'm just run down. I was standing in line checking this morning, and I just couldn't stand anymore. I had to sit down. I mean, this guy's obviously viral infection, just run down early in the morning, about to pass out. Very typical airport case. And so he's just got like a viral cold. And before the student arrived, I had listened to the lungs with somebody's stethoscope, and I'm like, oh, he's got like right lower crackles. He probably had a viral cold. It's now pneumonia. Oh, he needs some treatment.
He's sick.
Very typical case. So I'm standing back, and now the student arrives, and the student doesn't even talk to the patient, gets a little history from the wife, and the wife said, well, you're standing in line. And he just suddenly felt like he was going to pass out, and he sat down, he kind of stared off, and he was like near syncopal. Never passed out, never had a seizure, never nothing, right? Responsive the whole time. Gets the history from the wife, never touches the patient, comes over to their mentor medic and says, I can hear this, only words out of his mouth. I mean, minimal history, no exam. I think he's having an absence seizure. My ears perked up. I'm like, no shit.
Wow. Go for the unicorn.
I wonder what chapter you read last night.
Yeah.
Right?
Nice job.
Got your neuro chapter read.
Yeah.
Like, how did you come up with absence
from
seizure?
Mount Stupid?
Where
you saw that. Nice job.
God's holy earth did you find absence seizure in this like 80-year-old sick guy? So the medic, knowing who I am, looks at me and like smiles like, are you going to eat this up?
Yeah, we're going to let him. We're going to let him.
And so the medic looks at me and kind of like, are you going to tolerate this? And I just smiled back and I'm like, it's all yours to train. Because they knew this was bad. And so that's exactly what that Mount Stupid looks like in real life and training. It's not, the person wasn't they weren't being arrogant. They weren't being a jerk. They were just being a good student. They were trying their best. But you know what? They were very confident in their diagnosis on a patient they didn't talk to or examine.
So what's the best way to handle this? Should that preceptor paramedic be like, you're wrong. Mm-hmm. You missed all or should they be like, all right, well, if that's what you're going to do, you go ahead and just manage this patient.
No, I would address it right then, but I would try to do it in the nicest way possible. Because while the trough of humility needs to happen, I don't want to push somebody over that cliff intentionally and hurt them. And we don't want to bash, so we don't want to kill their confidence and make them timid, right? We want to take that confidence and mold it into something healthy and productive. So how I think if I was that mentor, I would have handled a bit. I'd have been like, hey, that's an option, but I think you're way off here. So what I'd recommend is go talk to the patient, get a full history, get the details of, what happened over the last couple of days, examine him, touch him, listen to things. If you think this is a seizure, do a neuro assessment, look at his eyes, check him. Is he having stroke symptoms? Like, go do your job that you've trained to do. Don't be afraid to touch the patient. Do you know that you just came to me with a differential of one item after not talking to the patient and not examining them? You're training to be an EMT. Go do your job. And that's not overly mean. It is being a mentor. It is calling them out and going, you just completely failed, without slapping them in the face for it.
Right.
It's just being a professional and saying, go do your job, come back with a better differential than that. Like, okay, absence, fine. It's on the list. I'll give you that. But if you come back and you give me one item that this could be, you haven't checked a blood sugar. You haven't performed a stroke exam. You haven't checked vitals. Like, what are you thinking? You have a job to do and you know better than this. And I guarantee you that one patient, he would have jumped off Mount Stupid and he would have been in the trough of humility real quick.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to push him there.
I like it.
You just mentored that person.
So would you agree, thought just popped in my brain, would you agree that to be let's back up. As someone who is overseeing an agency, right? And you're looking to create field training officers or promote training people in general, would you say the best field training officers and or training folks would be those that have already come off of Mount Stupid, traveled through the trough of humility, and are on their way down that road?
Absolutely.
Right? Because I feel like if you're looking at people that you work with, and some people right out of EMT school or right out of paramedic school would be great field training off. They're so freaking smart, but they're still going through their own personal journey, right? And how long does it take for them to fall? Like, what is the longevity of Mount Stupid?
Yeah, you need
to have no idea, right?
You need to have a barrage of difficult, troublesome cases where you questioned everything you did. You still don't know if it was the right thing to do. You still doubted your abilities. You very much hit that trough before you should be training anybody.
I love that. That's what I was hoping you'd say. Good thing we're on the same page.
Who do you want to be the best trainers? You just don't want the people who are like, I had one great mission, did amazing, won an award. All I know is success. Like, I'm sorry. I'm a strong believer. And I think through history, a lot of smart people have strongly believed that we learn far more from our failures than we do our successes.
Absolutely.
I think that's a well-proven fact. And so I don't want anybody training anybody who's only had successes and won awards and has all sorts of accolades and nobody's ever seen them do wrong. That's a scary person, in my opinion. That person they haven't ever hit that trough. They've been on the mountain for a long time and they're just waiting for the fall. And so I'd rather have somebody who's had some highs, had some very bad lows. That's the person you want training people. Somebody who's going to train them on reality.
I like it.
Yeah.
So besides, we'll link the page we're looking at here, obviously in the show notes. You got this book over here. What book you got?
Oh, this isn't specifically about
it's
Dunning-Kruger.
not, but it has information on it,
Yeah,
right?
so this is actually, it's a good book for people that like to read. I like to read books about things that challenge my perspectives.
Right.
I like that. I mean, I'm pretty hard set in some of my beliefs, all sorts of stuff, but I think it's smart. Well, I mean, I'm well past Mount Stupid. I think it's smart to read things that challenge your thinking. And so this whole book is actually about that whole topic. It's called Think Again by Adam Grant.
Nice.
And it says the power of knowing what you don't know. And so what's funny is the reason Dunning-Kruger came up in this was when he's talking about it in a chapter, he's like, the whole reason I wrote this book is because of Dunning-Kruger, seeing people do this. And it's such a pet peeve of his. He wrote a whole book about how we should be open on a daily basis, mentally flexible to change our opinions, to take in new knowledge, decipher for ourselves, well, is this valid? And to not be so set in our ways. And the classic example, what I think is brilliant in the beginning of this book, is that he says, think about throughout the years of your own life, there's anybody listening, of how many times you've changed your computer system, your computer operating system at home, how many times you've changed your wardrobe. Do you still wear stuff you wore in the 80s? Absolutely not, right?
Do you?
I wish some of it, but no. But like how many times have you bought new furniture, remodeled your home?
How about your car?
Okay. Like how many times in your life you have completely changed something that's fairly big, what style you like, what foods you like, what clothing you wear, what computer system you like. But yet you ask somebody about a political, religious, whatever belief, and it's like feet in the sand, hardcore, I'm not changing. And while that's okay to some degree, how can we as a human being be so flexible in our home remodeling and what we prefer in our clothing, but yet so inflexible in some of the things we think? And so while I don't think people need to change what they think, I think it's healthy to question it. It's really the scientific method. Scientific method is all about you have something you think, you're going to test the alternate and see if you need to change your thinking.
Right.
And so I think it's just a healthy thing for anybody in any profession to do going forward as just a human being of like, having good relationships with other people. Some of my best friends in this world believe absolutely the opposite of me on some of the biggest factors of life, whether it's religion or politics. And they are my best friends because we can sit down and have these really fun, open conversations, tease each other, push each other about these hot topics that people are killing each other and defriending people. And people are so cruel to each other. And if we can't sit down at a table and like just hash it out and have fun and laugh about it and tease each other, we're all doomed.
Yeah.
Totally doomed. I love having good conversations with people on the opposite side of the aisle of me because it just opens my mind and helps me become more of a normal human being and can talk to people.
I love it. And I think it's important to mention, this is not this graph, right, is not a one graph. So as a new EMT, if you came out of EMT school, you're on Mount Stupid, you've been humbled, and you start working your way towards that expert level. When you move on in your career to paramedic school, it's not moving farther on that expert level. It's like you start this whole graph all over again.
Hopefully you know about it though and kind of avoid it.
But I think the tendency is just because you've come from Mount Stupid once does not mean that you won't inevitably end back up, whether it's a new protocol or a new EMS practice or you advance your level of training or God knows what.
I may be
change departments or change jobs or
I may hopefully, God willing, be working towards that expert level in my medical career. But I can tell you yesterday, I watched a YouTube video of how to change the battery in my GMC truck from 2017. It was quite a process. I watched a YouTube video and it went just like the video. And I got to tell you,
you're a mechanic.
Dunning-Kruger, I feel like bring me any truck, I'll fix it up. Yeah. Right? Like I'm on Mount Stupid right now because it's a new skill. It's a new knowledge. And like if you're not aware that this exists, you're going to just jump on every new mountain that comes along.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to throw out there?
No, I'll probably be dead tomorrow by like trying to fix my truck. I'll shock myself or something.
I thought your truck was fixed.
It's pretty close.
All right. Sweet. All right. Well, if you got nothing else, that was awesome. Another little short, little coffee talk.
Always enjoy the coffee talk.
Coffee talk. Tequila
with Linda
talk.
Richmond.
With Linda Richmond. We still have to put that little clip in there. Maybe we'll do that with this one.
Yeah.
There's got to be a free soundbite we can put on there.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey, thanks for checking out another episode of EMS Connect on Shift. Please subscribe, review, and rate our podcast on your favorite platforms. Those ratings really help our podcast grow and reach new listeners. Also, make sure to like and follow our social media sites by searching EMS Connect on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Thanks for getting educated with EMS Connect.